culture is the foundation of all of this, right? If you don't have the right culture in place, um, it's going to be a challenge. And right in line with that is that the culture is defined, I believe, from the top down. The CEO, the leadership team, they define it, they model it, they reinforce it.
Welcome to the Global Experience. Get ready as we take you into the dynamic world of customer service and collections.
You will gain access to the secrets of success in the world of customer and employee experience through conversations with keynote speakers, industry mavericks, and CX and debt collections experts and influencers.
Let's get into it.
Sawubona, welcome, and hello. On today's show, we have the award-winning coach, keynote speaker, and author, Annette Franz. She has been in the industry for over 30 years now and has dedicated her time to helping organizations put customer in customer experience. Founder of CX Journey and author of Built to Win and Customer Understanding. Welcome to the show, Annette Franz. How are you doing today?
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, absolutely. I am great. It's a random Tuesday morning and getting ready to start another fun day here. So yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks so much.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining us, Annette. Something we like to do before we kick off our podcast is we'd like to give our listeners a better understanding of where you are in the world. We often find that podcasts are recorded with the host and guest being on opposite ends of the world. So if you could provide us with the suburb, city, country, and time and temperature you're experiencing right now, that would be great.
I think that's pretty accurate. We are kind of almost on the opposite ends of the world, aren't we?
Yeah.
So I am currently in Southern California in Orange County, which is between Los Angeles and San Diego because if I gave you the name of the town, you would have no idea where I am. But I'm between Los Angeles and San Diego in Orange County. It is it's almost 10 after 9 in the morning here, and it is going to be, since we're at the end of October, it is going to be actually a warm week this week. We are in the 80s. The high today is supposed to be 86. We have this condition known as Santa Anas that have been blowing for the last few days, and those are winds that are coming in off of the mountains, blowing toward the ocean, which they don't normally do. Normally they blow the other way, and when that happens, it's hot, it's dry. There's 10% humidity and a chance of wildfires, which we've already had over the last couple of days. So that's where I am. So thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
That's crazy. So, like where we are at the moment, so we're in Sandton in Johannesburg, South Africa. Last week, if you asked me this question, it would have been 34 degrees Celsius, which is about 95 Fahrenheit.
Right.
And then this week, yesterday and today, it's been about 10 degrees Celsius, which is like 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow.
So
Wow.
we live in a crazy world at the moment from a weather perspective. It's honestly so unpredictable.
I will just add that I have been in your neck of the woods. It was in March of 2019. I was down there. So beautiful area of the world, and if I remember correctly, the weather was actually quite pleasant while I was there. So
Brilliant, brilliant. So maybe to kick us off, Annette, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? I know your history. I mean, checking your LinkedIn, your history is basically a 50-page thesis in terms of your experience. So do you want to just kick us off? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what CX Journey is about.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. And that happens, unfortunately, when you've been doing this for 31 years. And this is, my role in the customer experience profession, both on the vendor side and on the client side. Back in 2017, early 2017, I started my own business, CX Journey. And the focus is really on customer experience strategy, customer-centric culture, and employee experience, and how that all relates and how we ensure that we work with leaders to make sure that they get get their strategy set. First of all, make sure that they get it and the importance of all of that, but set their strategy and then help them really soup to nuts on that strategy and on making sure that they've got the right culture. So, I focus. So a lot of my work is consulting work, but then I also do content work for various providers, and then I'm also a speaker and an author. So it's it's busy around here. But to your point, 50 pages of of history and my experiences comes after 31 years. So it's been a fun ride, and it's been really interesting to see, the evolution of customer experience and where it's gone and where it's been. And so yeah, I know we'll be talking a little bit about that today. So I'm excited to share some of that.
Fantastic. So you mentioned the author, and obviously in the introduction, I spoke a little bit about built to win and customer understanding. But what actually, like if you go back to the beginning,
Yep.
what inspired you to write a book in the first place about customer experience?
I think it's funny because I started writing my blog back in 2011, and it was really about at that point I'd already been in this industry for, almost 20 years. And I wanted to just get everything in my head out on paper and help to educate, right? It was still very much a newer profession at the time. Not everybody was, and with a lot of new folks coming into it. And so really it was around, educating and teaching and sharing my experience and what I'd learned and what I'd seen over the years. So when it came time to write the first book, Customer Understanding, I, basically had been delivering this same presentation, the same keynote to audiences for about 2 years. And I said, okay, this is it. I mean, people ask me a lot of great questions. Everybody's excited about the topic and everything. So I'm like, the last time I presented it before I started writing the book was at a keynote in New York. And the flight back from New York to Southern California had about 5 or 6 hours, and I just started taking my notes from the presentation and outlining the outline for the book, right? And so that was sort of the catalyst for that. And then with Built to Win, it's sort of similar story too, right? I had been doing presentations about, the importance of a customer-centric culture and what that looks like, and getting, again, a lot of great questions, a lot of great feedback. And I was, at the same time, I was also hearing people use that word customer-centric and customer centricity and using it the wrong way. I felt like, we've got customer-centric people, and we've got customer-centric departments, and we've got customer-centric messages, but there was never, hey, we have a customer-centric culture, right? To be customer-centric, you really, it's an organization-wide thing. It's not one person or one department. And so I was like, you know what, I got to sit down and just take, again, a presentation that I'd been giving. And in that presentation, I had actually been talking about 8 principles. In the book, I ended up with 10 principles, the foundation of a customer-centric organization or a customer-centric culture. And I really wanted people to understand what it means to be customer-centric. Everybody in the organization, everything you do, every discussion, every decision, every design puts the customer at the heart and asks, brings that customer voice in and asks, how's this going to impact the customer? How's it going to solve problems for her? How's it going to make her feel, And I don't think that was happening. And I hope, I've gotten great feedback about that book as well. And I hope that people have certainly taken that to heart.
No, I love that. And Annette, you've mentioned now what inspired you to write the book. If you could summarize in one sentence or one short paragraph, Built to Win and customer understanding, what would that be?
I think for Built to Win, the one sentence would be, it's about the 10 foundational principles of designing and maintaining and sustaining a customer-centric culture. And those 10 foundational principles are really key to doing that. And then for customer understanding, it's about the 3 ways to achieve that customer understanding, right? It's around listening, which is about feedback and data. It's about characterizing, which is doing the work to develop, interview customers and develop your personas. And then it's about empathizing. That's the 3rd way, which is about creating those journey maps and also your service blueprints to make sure that you really understand what the experience is like today. So that, I know that was maybe more than a sentence, but that pretty much sums up both of those.
No, that was very, very well said. I think all the listeners now are going to have to run up and get one. And then another fun, just a random question. if you could dine anywhere, any restaurant, past or present, known for its extraordinary customer service, where would it be and what would you order?
So I think I would probably go, and I've been to this restaurant twice in two different locations, and this is one of the reasons too why it's on my at the top of my list. It's Morton's. Morton's is just such an amazing, like the food is incredible, the service is incredible, and they really are about consistency. So like I said, have been in two different locations, and the service and the quality of the food was consistent from one location to another. One was here in Southern California and the other one was in Chicago. So it wasn't even like they were, in neighboring cities or anything like that. So I would say Morton's. I think, and the dish that I would order would be, oh, absolutely, a dry aged ribeye, with some smoked Gouda and bacon gratin on the side, gratin on the side. Just my mouth is watering just thinking about it.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit jealous.
Yeah.
I think South Africa is known for the quality of its meat as well. I mean, most weekends you'll find a South African having a fat steak
Nice.
on what we call a braai, what you call a barbecue. So a ribeye,
That does
it
sound
sounds
nice.
really
Right?
good. But that was a very positive customer experience for you. And obviously, I think the fact that you have gone there more than once and you'll probably keep on going there
Yeah.
indicates that they're doing something right, whether it be the service, whether it be the quality of their food. There's always that one thing that sticks out, right?
Yeah.
But I
Absolutely.
guess when it comes to certain other places, there might be that negative thing that sticks out.
Yeah.
Have you had like any recent negative customer experiences over the past couple months or so that come to mind?
I will have to say that I have had far more negative experiences over the last couple of months than I've had positive ones, sadly. And I keep saying, I just had this conversation with somebody the other day, and I said, this is why AI is coming into the contact center, right? We're going to take some of this pain away when we automate things. Somehow we're going to do that. But yeah, there's one particular one. It has to do with a prescription that I get on a monthly basis, an injection. And I'll just tell you, it started out with and it has to come from a specialty pharmacy. So it started out with, the week before I get the shot, I have to call them and tell them that I'm ready to refill the prescription. And I had done that a couple of weeks ago. This was about 3 weeks ago when it started. It is not finished. It's not finished yet.
Oh
So I
no.
had done that, and they started asking me all these random questions about, did I change my insurance? Did I do this, and nothing had changed from 3 weeks prior when I called them, right? Or 4 weeks prior when I had called them. So it was a terrible experience. And they said, okay, great. You know what? But at the end of the call, the agent said, okay, we're shipping it out. It'll be there on Friday. Well, on Thursday, apparently somebody had tried to call me and I didn't get the message or didn't get the call. And they said, well, you're ordered and shipped because there's something wrong. And so I called back because they had left me a message. I called back, and I may have used a not so nice phrase about what the situation was. I was polite to the agent, but I used a not so nice phrase of what this situation had turned into, and she hung up on me. And I was
Oh
like,
no.
okay, wait a second, what is going on here? So I called back, explained to the gentleman who answered, and we spent another 20 minutes on the phone. He's like, okay, we got you. We're covered. Everything taken. Again, we just spent all this time going back through. And this is another situation that happens. You repeat everything that you just told somebody else, right? Because there's no notes or there's no sharing of. So I had to repeat everything that I'd been through with that previous agent, and 3 days earlier, 4 days earlier on Monday. And so we got you. You're covered. Good to go. We'll get this out. Well, then I get an email from them saying that it's held up again. And then 2 days later, another pharmacy called me and said, hey, we're trying to fill your prescription. And I was like, wait, they've transferred me to so then on this long story short, on Friday, the doctor's office called me with the original pharmacy and said, hey, we're ready to ship out your prescription. And I'm still so confused. I tried to call the doctor's office yesterday and nobody returned my call. So it's been exactly that 2-word phrase that I used to describe it is still what it continues to be. And, it's I think it's poor communication, right? It's poor communication, it's lack of communication, it's lack of proactive communication. It was again that experience from going from agent to agent and having to repeat the story every time rather than, the agent calls me, I'm hoping you have my information and all of that. So yeah, and then getting transferred to another pharmacy, which nobody told me that was going to happen. And that pharmacy, yeah, so here we are. Sorry, that was a very long story, but it's been a very bad experience for the last 3 weeks. So
So, Annette, what I'm hearing is like the main things that made that experience negative, which there are a couple,
there are many.
but one of the main ones. So, like as a customer experience professional, like stepping back
Yeah.
from the situation, right, and
Yeah.
seeing what went wrong, probably be miscommunication and probably lack of communication,
Yeah.
as well as possibly a poorly trained agent in terms of how to deal with conflict.
Yeah.
What else would you say made it negative, like in simple terms, if you had to break it down?
I would agree. It really does, to sum it up, it really is all about communication and miscommunication and not, parts and pieces of that are, not giving me accurate information, not telling me, being proactive and telling me it was transferred to another pharmacy. It really is all summarized by, the communication was just awful. And even, that first call that I made, it would yeah, I would just boil it all down to communication, poor communication.
So would you say if you had to bump into the head of CX from that company, from that
Yeah.
pharmaceutical company, what would be the one thing you would say?
I would say, and I tell everybody this, right? I think communication is one of the most overlooked
Yeah.
part of the customer experience, and so you've got to train your agents to not hang up on customers. Okay, or it's getting a little dicier. I was, like I said, I wasn't even angry. I just called it something and she hung up on me. And call your customers when you say you're going to, or, be proactive about what you're doing in their situation, right? I think that probably boils down to a lot of it is really, had there been proactive communication and keeping me in the loop, honestly, the second pharmacy did that much better. The fact that I wasn't alerted that I was actually going to have this pharmacy when I started getting emails from them, I thought, oh, this is spam. This is certainly not even. So I was just deleting their messages because and then finally
Yeah.
I opened one up and I was like, oh, that's actually my prescription. That is mine, and so. Yeah, so
Yeah.
they were very communicative, even though it was, through their app and stuff, but they were very communicative, but there was nothing from the original pharmacy. And so yeah, I think that's a huge part of it is really just focusing on the communication, properly training your agents, and teaching them how to be proactive. And maybe they're just so busy or don't have time or whatever it is, but then you have to fix that too.
Yeah, I mean, Nats, I think we sometimes we've had some really nice engagements with customer service agents, I guess, in the
Yeah.
past. But like some of the ones that stick out are those ones where there's just no communication. You have a conversation, you don't have any decent follow-up if there were action steps. You have to kind of loop yourself back either through like a customer service line or via email. Information is not kept. You have to re-explain yourself, and there's nothing more frustrating than having to re-explain yourself over and over again.
Over and over again.
So
It's too much effort for the customer, right? We talk
Yeah.
about customer effort score. Well, that would be a very low customer effort score there because, because it's not, or a bad customer effort score because it's way too much effort, in making the customer do things that you should already know, the data you should already have, and using that data to make it a better experience is key. It's critical.
So what I'm also seeing is basically what they would have done differently in this would have kind of translated towards an employee experience. So
Yeah.
giving the customer service agent the tools that they need in order to succeed. So there's a good possibility that this problem that you had is probably stemmed a little bit higher up. It may
True.
not have been an agent issue. It may have been an agent training issue, right? But what you've written and spoken a lot about the employee experience versus the customer experience, right? How do you describe the difference between those two? Is there a difference? Is there a difference in how we visualize them and treat them?
I would say the definition for one versus the other is very similar, right? Customer experience is, the sum of all the interactions that a customer has with a brand over the life of the relationship with the brand and the feelings, emotions, perceptions about that. Same with the employee. Just substitute, the duration of their employment or the life, however long they're an employee with that employer. And I also add into that definition the capabilities, the interactions and the capabilities that enable them to do their jobs. And I define those as, the soft stuff and the hard stuff, where the soft stuff is, where, they've clear communication from leaders. They get feedback and coaching, and they know how their work is, how it matters and how it impacts their colleagues, the business, the customer, etc. They're empowered, they're all of these things. And the hard stuff, which is the tools, the training, the resources to do their jobs, and policies that aren't outdated and processes that aren't broken. And I think when I first start working with a client, I'll interview customers, employees, and their leadership team. And this one employee that I interviewed, I mean, he said it so well that I use this all the time. This quote, he said, "I don't have the tools, the resources, or the training to do my job and to serve my customers the way that they deserve to be served." And to hear that from an employee it's so powerful, because employees get it. They want to do a good job, right? They come to work every day. They want to do a good job. They want to serve customers well, but if they're not equipped with what they need. So I think that's really critical on the employee experience side, and I don't think we talk about employee experience enough, and that connection between the employee experience and the customer experience. And I don't think we do enough, not just talk about it, but do enough either about it. So.
Mm, mm. So then, when it comes to that, how would you go about connecting the two? How would you go about connecting employee experience and customer experience? Would one come before the other?
Yeah, there's this great quote about, employees. If you're going to put customers first, you have to put employees more first. And basically, that means that the employee experience drives the customer. Happy employees, happy customers, however, whatever, adjective you want to put there in front of either one of those. But what I always say is the employee does have to come more first, because if you don't have employees, who's going to design, build, sell, service, implement, install, whatever your products, right? And your services, so it's critical that we make sure that the employees have what they need to do their jobs and to do them well. And customers are going to benefit from that, and if we don't have employees, we're not going to have customers, because who's doing all of that work, right? So I think that's the connection there. And there's tons of research that shows that employee experience, customer experience connection is real, and it's an impactful. There's some impactful stats out there to show the impact on the customer, the impact on the business out on, if you think about how well they're performing, even on the stock market and things like that, right? There's tons of stats out there to show that the employee experience really does matter.
Brilliant. I think I've even seen a report. I think it's the ASCI or ACSI, something along the lines, that actually shows listed companies and their revenue increasing when they're focusing on that. I think it's customer experience and employee experience, or it might be the CSAT scores. I think it is. So I mean, there is data behind it,
Absolutely.
which is always satisfying to see, at least.
Right.
But when it comes to, obviously, like the employee experience and customer experience, there are journeys that a brand needs to take when they are focusing on those two avenues, right?
Yeah.
I think it's some term at customer journey mapping. I think there are other terms for it, right?
Right. Right.
But can you maybe just tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are on customer journey mapping?
Yeah. I'll say this: journey mapping and the things and the tools that we use. So I wrote, customer understanding with those 3 ways to achieve customer understanding. Those are the same tools, the same things that we can do to design a better, to understand our employees and design a better employee experience as well. So journey mapping is really, I call it it's not just a tool, it's a process, right? We walk in the steps of our customers and employees to visualize the steps that they take as they interact with the brand for whatever it is that they're trying to achieve, right? So I think it's really important to know that it is a process, and if you don't go through that process, they won't become the catalyst for change that they're meant to be. So I had laid out this 6-step process, right? So it's plan, it's doing all the things up front that you need to do to make sure you're going to be successful. It's empathize, that's your workshop. Those are the things that you're actually creating with customers. You're creating that journey map. It's identify, it's identifying those moments of truth and doing some root cause analysis. And then introspect is about creating the service blueprint, looking inside. Who are the people, the tools, the systems and processes that support and facilitate and create the experience that customers are having? And then it's ideate. It's looking at the future state. How will we not just make these tactical improvements based on what we heard, but how are we going to redesign the experience, overall? What's it going to look like, 12 or 18 months from now when we redesign it? And hopefully it doesn't take that long, but oftentimes it does. And then the last step is really to implement, to take what you've learned and put it to work and implement it and train your employees and communicate to your customers that the experience has changed, reset expectations, those kinds of things. So it's a whole process like that. I've seen it happen too often where people just create the maps and they think they're done, right? They just create the maps and they think they don't have a clear process for taking it from the map to actually, change, right? To seeing and delivering a better and a different experience for customers and employees.
Yeah. Annette, you mentioned that the customer journey mapping is definitely a process.
Yep.
How would you go about starting that process?
Yeah, great question. And like I said, the very first step is to plan. I think this is so critical, right? What are your objectives? Why are you doing this? Why are you even doing it, right? And what are the desired outcomes? And how are you going to measure that you've achieved success? So what are the success metrics? Who will you map for? What are the personas that you're going to start with and map for, right? What's the scope of the map? What is that journey? What's the point A and what's the point B? You don't necessarily want to map the entire life cycle and all the interactions that happen through the entire life cycle all at once, right? Pick a scope, pick a point A to point B, and you're going to probably have hundreds of maps because there's hundreds of different journeys and there's different personas and all of that. And then identify who's going to participate, both from the customer side and from the stakeholder side. There's got to be some stakeholders involved so they can, see what customers are experiencing, and then identifying what data are you going to incorporate into and that's, the data is a little bit of a longer process, but what data are you going to incorporate in the maps to help to, not only validate, but to add other customer viewpoints into the mapping process. So that's a lot to do to start with, but you really do have to start with, why are you doing this and who's going to be involved, and making sure that you have the commitment and the budget from your executives to actually do something with what you learn, because oftentimes people just map just to say that, check the box and say we did it, so yes, exactly.
Yeah, you might have mentioned this, but we'd just like you to reiterate, what would you say is the lesser known tip to optimize mapping?
Well, first of all, I think it is, number one, it's a process. I think people have to realize that it is a process. It's not just about the map itself, right? And then I think the other thing is that, and I may have blown past this phase a little quickly, but that introspect phase, that service blueprinting, I don't think enough people understand that you can't just take a look at what the customer is saying about the experience up here. You've got to look behind the scenes. That's what service blueprinting is taking that surface to core view. What's happening behind the scenes, the people, the tools, the systems, the processes that are creating and supporting and facilitating the experience customers are having. if we don't look at that, we're not getting down to the root cause, right? We're not going to really seriously redesign the experience. We're just going to give it lip service and put some lipstick on it by changing what the customer is seeing up here, right? So such an important part of it is to do that service blueprinting and really understand what's happening behind the scenes that's creating or ruining the experience that your customers are having.
Mm. Mm. And yet that's been a lot of valuable information that you kind of almost wrapped out to us. That was really cool. If there was one thing, I guess, over this past half an hour or so that you'd want or that a listener needs to take out of this conversation, what would it
Yep.
be?
Oh goodness. We have covered a lot of ground, haven't we? I would say that, and we haven't even talked about. We did talk a little bit about culture at the beginning when we talked about the book, but I think a couple of different things here. Number one is that culture is the foundation of all of this, right? If you don't have the right culture in
Yeah.
place, it's going to be a challenge. And right in line with that is that the culture is defined, I believe, from the top down. The CEO, the leadership team, they define it, they model it, they reinforce it, and then there's this grassroots groundswell of employees who latch onto it, and then it builds from there, right? So I think that's such an important thing is the culture and leadership are critical foundational elements to getting anything that I've talked about here today done, right? And so from there, I would say, the employee experience. Don't forget your employees. The employees are so critical to the business. And again, do the work and do the same work that you would do for customer understanding for your employees and for, to understand and redesign their experience. So, okay, that might have been more than one, but
I mean, it's all so valuable, I think, and I think like Nats and I have seen it at a grassroots level that if you treat your team and your employees like a team and like family, then they take that momentum and move it forward onto the customers that they're dealing with.
Yep.
So I think that's crucial there. But like moving on to, I guess, the fun a bit. Now we're going to test a little bit of Annette's South African knowledge. I hope you've got
Please.
your thinking cap on. We've got three quick and easy questions
Only
for
three
you.
questions.
And this is going to be embarrassing,
Multiple
but
choice.
we'll get through it.
Okay. Question one. Who was one of the top employers for South Africa in 2023? Is it
Okay.
A, CCI? Is it B, Webhelp South Africa? Or is it C, Newton?
Wow. Oh, if I don't say the right one here, I could be in trouble. I'm going to go Newton.
Okay, we've locked in your answer. We'll go through your answers at the end.
Okay.
Fantastic. Okay, question two. What is the official name of the South African rugby team? Is it A, the Blue Cranes? Is it B, the Springboks? Or is it C, the Proteas?
I just saw this in an article yesterday, so I am going 100% confident that it is the Springboks.
Okay, we've locked it in.
Okay, and then last question, and it's one close to our hearts at the moment. But who won the 2023 Rugby World Cup? Is it A, South Africa? Is it B, New Zealand? Or is it C, England?
Oh, well, I'm going to have to say sorry to my friends in New Zealand, but South Africa won.
Okay, we've locked it in. Annette, how do you think you did?
I'm going to go, I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good about
Be
2 and
confident.
3. I'm feeling pretty good about 2 and 3, but I'm pretty confident about number 1 as well. So, and by the way, just so you guys know, I didn't have the questions in advance. I had no idea what these questions were going to be. So.
Well, Annette, you actually did an outstanding job. You got 3 out of 3. Question 1's answer was correct. It was Newton. Of course, we're going to sell ourselves a bit. We were the top winner, one of the Employee of the Year 2023.
Nice.
The official name question 2, the official name of the South African rugby team is the Springboks, so that article was correct. And question 3, who won the Rugby World Cup final? And it was South Africa. That was correct. And we are very proud.
I bet. I
Um,
bet. And this was
sweet.
was this your fourth? If I'm trying to remember the article.
Yes.
Yeah, this
Fourth.
was your fourth.
I'm
Yeah.
impressed.
Yeah,
I'm impressed. Yeah.
Yeah.
that is
Awesome.
correct. Yeah, 4-time winning the Rugby World Cup final. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then on to the next thing.
All right.
If you could provide us with something interesting about where you are at the moment, fun facts, that would be great.
All right. Can I do two?
Yeah, you can do as many as you want.
All right.
Provide us with the knowledge.
Okay, I'm gonna do two. And I had to go, I will say the source of these is USA Today. I had to go look up some fun facts because and they had like 100 of them, and I was like, oh geez, which one of these do I pick? So I picked the first one because everybody loves dogs, so I'm going to go with this one. They said there are an estimated 75.8 million dogs in the United States, more than double the number in Brazil, the country with the second most dogs. So I don't know how many dogs you guys have in South Africa or Africa in general, but apparently nowhere near 75 million or nowhere near 37, 38 millions.
Oh my word!
Jeez.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is a lot. And are you much of a dog lover yourself?
I love all animals. I love all animals. I don't have any dogs right now. I just have a cat right now. But I grew up on a farm in Ohio, and so and I wanted to become a veterinarian, and that didn't happen clearly. But yeah, I love all animals. So all right, and then the second stat or the second interesting fact. This is interesting because my parents are from Germany, so I'm a first generation American. Approximately 43 million Americans identify as ancestrally German, and that's more than any other nationality. So 43 million out of our 320 million, something like that, population are their background is German. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Annette, is your background German with your surname?
Yes. My parents are from Germany. Like I said, I'm a first generation American. So yeah, my family is German.
Oh wow! So you fall into that stat.
I do. I
Pretty
absolutely do.
comfortably.
Absolutely. That's why I picked it. I was like, this is cool. And I never even realized that. So I was like, yeah, let's do this one.
Well, I definitely learned something new about America today.
There
And
you
I
go.
hope our
Dogs and
listeners learned something
Germans.
about South Africa.
Yeah, and it's just wrapping up. I think I really enjoy first and foremost just following your content as
Oh,
a fellow Annette fan. I think that's for sure, and I think it's been absolutely lovely having you on our podcast.
thank you.
I think we're both a little bit starstruck, um, but I think if everyone listening, please go buy Built to Win and Customer Understanding. I think there'll be immense value out of it. I think it's going to be a fantastic read. It is already bought from us, and we'll be reading that pretty soon as well.
Awesome.
And I think just in general, if there's one thing that our listeners can walk away with today is that something even as small as a restaurant experience can stay with the person forever.
Yeah.
And even though the focus of CX is changing every year, I'm sure you've seen that over the past 31
Absolutely.
years. It is still so important to ensure that CX is not just a team or department, but it is a way of running your business. It's actually part of your DNA. So guys, a reminder to find Annette on her socials that will be posted below. Annette, you can also give a quick shout out to your socials so that we can find them going forward before we end
Absolutely.
off.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. You can find me on LinkedIn, Annette Franz, and same on Twitter and Instagram as well. So happy to connect with anybody who wants to chat or wants to share stories about rugby, which I don't even. I'm not even. I just happened to stumble across that article yesterday. I was like, oh, this is cool. But I have a friend whose husband is from New Zealand and loves rugby. So I was like, oh, I should read this. Yeah. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, feel free to
No.
connect and my website, cx-journey.com or AnnetteFranz.com, either one of those. And thank you so much for having me. And I like how you wrapped it up there. I think that's a really great point. So thanks so much. I enjoyed our conversation.
Brilliant. Annette,
Thank
it's been a
you,
pleasure.
Annette.
Thank you for tuning in. We hope you had as much fun as we did and gained valuable experience insights.
Let us know what you think. Connect with us on social media and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Stay inspired, stay customer-centric, and know that the world of customer experience and collections is within your reach, the global experience.